All right, good afternoon. Welcome. First day of October, last day, unfortunately, of week 2 for Invitational League, Link to the Past Randomizer, Casual Boots. This is it. We get to start with boots, start with sword, go fast. Probably gonna be the last setup, I guess. Hurrah for this type of this mode for League, but definitely not ending on a soft note. We have two amazing runners, Gem versus Tabby. Here representing We All Should Hover Every Day. Good thing we have Boost to start, by the way. Versus Tabby Cat, and representing by Farm Friends. Gonna be one heck of a time. I am joined by fellow teammates. We All Should Hover Every Day Korek. Tracking for us today is actually Farm Friends teammate Winfox470. Really gonna be a high stakes match here. Korek, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm really excited to see what we have in store. Gem is, widely considered one of the better, if not best, casual boots runners. It's why he plays probably more than any other mode when he's playing. So, but that's not to say that Tabby Cat can't squeeze one in here. We saw in the last matchup this week that sometimes you just have to kill the right pendant boss and it can really swing the match. So, it should be a really interesting matchup today.
Oh yeah. I think Winfox himself, who was part of the race of your series earlier versus Ak, yes, he in fact did pick the correct pendant boss to go kill. Really actually spun the race for smart, but here we are. So I'm sure Tabby is more than happy to hopefully extend that series win to a 2-0. We have half magic in our house already. That's gonna be super nice in this case for basically anything that comes up here in the front.
And it gives you an extra 2 seconds for escape, so that's great. You don't have to feel pressured into picking up the pot, so you have magic.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even think about this. Yeah, that's right. That's really sub 5 of escape is actually suddenly now on the table. I don't know if Tappy necessarily goes after that, for that kind of benchmark, but I know that certainly Gem among some, I guess, some other friends like Ari and the Lane, they did a 10x escape. 10x escape, and really try and get that sub 5 every single time. So we got a little bit of muscle memory though here.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to break sometimes.
It is.
But we do see that early lamp. Always nice to have. Does bode questions. Oh, we're gonna have an Agaseed, whatever. But for now, it's just okay, we got a fire source, we got the lamp. It's nice to have. Doesn't really tell us much yet though.
All right. Okay. Correct. My next question is: if you find the cape, or if you find a second sword here in the front of escape, are you gonna death war back with bombs that we just found here in the map chest to the front of the castle, and we are going to do an admin play?
I have actually done that back when there were big weekly races. I did that once. I did a bomb death warp in Sanctuary to go do Aga immediately. Turns out it wasn't required, but it was a lot of fun to do that.
I mean,
I don't think we're gonna see that. I don't know. I don't know Tabby's plays out. She very well could. Who knows? But I don't think Gem would do that.
All right, yeah, that's fair. I guess granted, there are of course a lot of checks available for us in the light world. I don't actually have the exact number, but we are. There are certainly a lot of options for you to be able to find a traditional Dark World access, right? Glove, hammer. Certainly we'll need a pearl, but maybe another glove out there. It's the light world is wide open basically for progression. Doesn't necessarily have to, but it would be a very interesting position though to take, because if you were correct, it actually would have been a pretty nice time save. Just say.
For sure. We see our nice ball and chain fight from Gem. Looks like Tabby's doing the pot strat, pot +4. That's very nice, consistent.
Actually, dude, actually, really nice job also of avoiding this green guard. This thing is really just in her face, and geez, did very well to basically avoid it and still be able to take down the guard pretty quickly.
Very fun. Gem's on pace for a good escape here. Let's see if he can keep it up.
Yeah, too bad in this case we can't actually get a mirror out of escape. I mean, we knew that the small key was gonna show eventually. It was either be that chest or a Dark Cross chest, but if we get a mirror right before this, would have been a really nice time save to basically warp to the front of the castle, as opposed to basically us, doing the chivalrous thing of escorting our princess back to the beginning.
The mirror is one of the pretty much one of the only things that can save a massive amount of time early on here.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like it's an advantage one versus the other. So it's just unless you're somebody that doesn't know you can mirror, I guess that can.
Yeah, that is true. We have, okay, for what it's worth, like I believe there have been oversized that even at the top level. This is a tournament race. We're here in the Invitational League. The competition is certainly quite stiff, very, very, high caliber. When you're playing casually, leisurely, when it's not in a race setting, things somehow go a little bit differently than when you're suddenly in a, high stakes pressure, type of situation. Speaking of Invitational League, though, by the way, we also got a male in Dark Cross. So a lot of safety actually coming out of the front of Escape. Yeah, speaking of Invitational League, this is actually the first time, or at least in since a couple seasons, that both teams, Washed and Farm Friends, actually made it into the Invitational. Quite a bit of different paths, though, at least from a historical perspective. Farm Friends was actually the runner-up of Open League Season 5. We have a hammer in the back of Escape. That's a really good find. They actually got promoted from the Open League, so top 4 teams basically made it, and they definitely earned their way here, in the Invitational League. So really cool to see. Tabby is also a very outstanding member, basically very selfless. She's actually, I think, the main person who does all of the asyncs. Not officially affiliated with any of the leagues or the main admin people. Basically just volunteered to put her time forth and give us these.
That's great. We do see Gem coming out with a pretty good time. I don't think it was quite sub 5, but it's pretty close. And Tabby not that far behind. Looks like Gem's gonna be doing the traditional route here, doing some bonk checks. Probably following up with Kakariko. See what Tabby Cat does. We had some intel that perhaps we could see an early South Shore. We do get a map check with 5 and 6 in the light world. Hera and Desert.
Oh, okay. Are you telling me that Desert is a crystal for once? And all of these seas that seem to never have Desert as a crystal? Okay, well that's great news.
Yeah. Yeah, light world crystals can when you get all 3, it always there's a question because the dungeons that require the most items are all in the dark world. So there might be some degree of items that are unrequired, things like the cane or medallions. It could be the case that we don't need
certainly
those.
very, very true. No, I definitely agree to that. Yeah, and not only, of course, we did find the hammer, and like in the front of Escape. Certainly, it is going to be one of our dark world pieces that we are going to need. I'm almost a little disappointed that we found half magic in our house, because the one of the few reasons, or one of the the major reasons why you pick up the at least one magic pot at the beginning in the front of Escape, is that if you do get hammer and powder, and there's basically no other magic sources kind of freely available, you are able to do magic bat check when you go into Kakariko. So
that is one of the primary reasons why you would do that. There could be if you grab both pots, you could have an outlier situation where you get an ether and you can have a super easy mini molder.
Yeah, true.
But the powder is a pretty huge one. We also got a blue potion though, so
true.
That would have sufficed in a pinch.
Oh my gosh. I'm okay, if you just had basically just didn't have the half magic, would you actually use a potion check magic bat right now? I don't know. It's
absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, you would? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if it's required, you're basically losing a minute versus a chance that you might need the potion later. It's a pretty big.
Okay, that does make a lot of sense.
It's a pretty big potential swing, in my opinion.
All right. Okay. Well, here we are.
A potion can also be a potential swing, but it's just way in the future, and you might get another one, or you might get a fairy, or who knows.
Yeah, that's also true. I guess, right, because a potion is more often not a safety for you, right? In case something goes wrong, simply just don't have things go wrong in the future. I know it sounds, maybe a little bit easier on paper, but these people are really good. I think maybe the bigger prize, at least for the time being, is that we do actually have is not necessarily the potion itself. We have a completely loaded well, by the way. Did you say something about not needing as many items potentially based on what the dependents are in Dark World?
I mean, we got the bow, we got the fire rod. I mean, there's a lot of dungeons we can do stuff with right now. Obviously we can't get to the Dark World yet, but
Yeah, but we suddenly basically just collected, I don't know, at least like half the not half, but like that was like 3 or 4 basically very, major progression items, like what, the flippers, yeah, bow, fire rod. I mean, like, and we're gonna have a bottle check sick kid, right? I mean, so minus maybe like the flute, we're pretty much gonna be done with all of Kakariko, right? We can even check magic bat on our way out, so. Flute. Close. Okay, 300 you're definitely not going to be sad about.
No, it's definitely nice to have here. We have the early flippers, so ideally you'd be able to check
nice
Zora early, but yeah, it's no guarantee that we'll be able to, but if you're doing like the early routing, Zora, you don't want to isolate Zora. Sometimes you don't necessarily have the choice, because if you're following the early flippers, like, and you're out of spots to go, you kind of have to go up and just do your checks up there at waterfall and everything. But ideally, you don't want to isolate that.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess, like, thankfully for flippers, I do believe that, like, with the bow, you can, like, Ancilla fake flipper, like, to sequence break out the item, like, on Zora Ledge if you didn't have the flippers. But at least this time, like, we do have them, so you don't have to really kind of, like, run the risk of, like, seeing something that you really want on the ledge of not being able to get it or have to, like, come back later for it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, that looks like, unfortunately, we did have everything that we needed, and then some for Magic Bat. It was actually just 10 arrows. We have Jem is picking up his 3rd bottle from library. Wow. Not necessarily maybe expected, because I know he has played a lot of spoiler, but, again, you never know when these things like kind of come into a pitch, right? That you might be able to need it.
Yeah, fairy's always a nice thing to have. I say always, but it's not always a nice thing to have.
Fairy Revival Club, especially if you don't. 2020.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the mirror, then it's always a pretty nice thing to have. But it's I don't know. I almost find myself in races getting slowed down by having a fairy, than getting saved by having a fairy. I don't know how common that is with anybody else out there, but like, I don't know. The number of times a fairy has saved me time versus lost me time. It's an interesting question.
Well, I mean, so it looks like, though, Tabby is actually going to do a little bit of being a little bit riskier. Or maybe she feels like, she's safe enough, right? Not going to go pick up the fairy in a bottle. Now, we did get a little bit of intel from, fellow teammate Winfox, our tracker today, that, Tabby's playstyle, may be a little unpredictable. So certainly pretty interesting to see in this case how much divergence we're gonna get from herself and Jem.
Yeah, both of these plays are fairly straightforward. Jem's just doing the Crystal Eastern plus Saha check. The South Shore is almost certainly going to be something we have to do before Dark World anyway. So the one thing that Jem might do here while he's clearing is go to the rupee room and get 90 rupees, which would get him closer to Zora money.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's planning to do that, but that would be one reason why you may prioritize Eastern first.
Suddenly we have all 4 bottles. At least Jem has all 4 bottles, and it looks like Tabby is going to be slightly short on her collection. But again, I don't think she necessarily needs it. We did have a Master Sword here in the front of the dam as well. Did we not drain the dam? I'm sorry, maybe I just didn't pay attention. All I saw was the Master Sword, and then... Oh, she did drain it. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Oh yeah, but that's actually a good point. So we have a glove. I mean, so okay, certainly looks like the initial dip of Eastern Palace looks pretty... Oh, never mind. We have the other glove in Mini Woldarm. Okay, where is this pearl?
Probably on the pyramid. No.
Okay. I mean, we got a Master Sword. We got a lamp. When are your Aga senses tingling? Like, do they just kind of like start going, haywire when you find everything that you need for, or do you kind of try and wait for the sword?
At this point, you definitely wait. But it is a little funny how many items we actually have here early in the light world. Boy, we can clear. Outside the Pearl, like, there are a lot of dungeons that are clearable right now. You got Pod Eastern, you got Thieves Town, you got Skull Woods, you got Ice Palace.
Ooh, all right. Well, talking about though, maybe one of the reasons Jem, as you mentioned, decided to delay South Shore just a little bit is so we can get some extra cash. Tabby though found a very nice 300, in Ice Rock Cave, so she is definitely all set for any financial. Yes.
Do you think Jem is going to do a Thelaine? Oh, he could do it. He could just bunny
Keep
revive
it
the Nice
going.
Palace when he does South Shore.
Oh, dude, this is gonna be
Oh.
amazing. Yes. Ooh,
Oh, see
okay, we
silvers.
did find silvers here on like Highlight Island. That's probably worth it. We do. Oh, man, that would be amazing.
It'd be a lot of fun.
It would. It would be a lot of fun.
It's like
cannot wait.
almost 50-50 as a pendant though, so it would be a huge risk, but man, it would be a lot of fun.
I cannot wait. I don't know in this case if maybe like Tabby or Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuda here is watching, you know, kind of lurking here in chat, if maybe they have a prediction, you know, for what their teammate might be willing to do in a sea like this. You know, again, maybe it depends on what your mentality is. You know, like if you feel like you might need to, you know, make a position, you know, take a stance, you know, do a play in order to try and gain an edge. This does not really seem to be, you know, super reasonable. And as you mentioned, you know, like once you kind of get into Ice Palace, you know, we have Fire Rod, we have 2 swords on Tabby's side, we've got half magic, we've got the hammer.
Well,
you know,
like from a perspective of if you knew it was a crystal, it wouldn't even be a bad play necessarily on Gem's side. But I think it's more just if you don't know it's a crystal, it's like I mean, you could hop in the portal and check.
True, but okay, you know what? But unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. You know, maybe for our amusement, Tabby did find the last piece of Dark World access, which is the Moon Pearl just sitting in Waterfall Fairy. Now, this is actually kind of interesting. I guess I assume she will still go to Eastern beforehand, but she no longer has to for her Dark World access, right? Because Eastern has her mitts now, and she could potentially go other places.
It's true, but I mean. Yeah, like doing a quick hype cave wouldn't be a bad idea, but it could also be a pretty standard approach in this situation.
Ooh,
nice hook
well
shot.
then, yeah.
A pretty standard approach would be like going Eastern and intending to do pod directly after, but then you don't know what, you know, necessarily if it's a crystal or a pendant, so.
Alright, Tabby also picking up Berna on Azora Ledge, so that does put Spike Cave in logic, which is certainly going to be something also available to her. Not the, you know, the most pleasant of checks for anyone really to go after, but it is going to be an option.
See, at Sanctuary might just be getting, you know, Skull Woods, which would be fine.
Yeah, so you mentioned earlier, like Skullwoods is a clearable crystal, Thieves Town is also a clearable crystal. We are going up the mountain, it looks like, never mind, with that hook shot, and glove, and mitts, hook shot,
yeah.
Yes.
I guess that's like, so obviously there's a lot of items up here, right? I guess like, it's like a little bit of a, this is like the situation where you go to the mountain and it's just like, man, it's kind of a pain because you don't have the mitts, you don't have the mirror. Like you can get a lot of items, but it's kind of slow in a way to get what you're getting. So, but I could definitely understand the play here.
Yeah, and I guess like so we know, you know, from watching Gem that he, you know, as he pick up his mitts right here in Mini Moldorm Cave, you know, Tabby's not gonna find the mitts up here. Well, she could still find the mirror, but like in the case she doesn't, like, would you still, I guess, like go to Hera, because it is a clearable crystal and she can get there, right, with the hammer
she should
and the hook shot.
Absolutely go to Hera.
Okay.
It's just, you know, it just stinks because I mean you kind of have to do it. Like I mean even Gem when he comes up here, which I assume he will, he'll do it without the mirror as well. But because you mean if the mirror's in Hera, like you're really putting yourself behind by not doing it.
Yeah, I did forget that you know, there are, you know, little snags in the seed, or you know, some, you know, senses of humor that sometimes like the game can have for you. In that, yes, you really want a single item or maybe a set of items.
So this is
yeah. Okay. Very interesting set of pendants. Okay, so we okay. I'm not surprised. Pendant Skull Woods after we get nerfed of early Fire Rod.
Yeah. So about that mirror, we might not see it.
Yeah. About the flute, we also might not see it.
Yeah, it might be book access to desert with no mirror. Which would no mirror would also mean no silvers. Yeah, I mean it could be an interesting one here. So okay, so I know that, you know, Tabby is doing something very similar to that the Gem is also doing as well. Like we did kind of just, you know, do like the most of the water checks, right? Waterfall Fairy, Azora Ledge. Would you be tempted at all for it by Hobo? This is like because we do have the flippers. It's just, but it's still very out of the way. I mean,
like,
yeah, I don't know. Like, at this point, they have so many items and so many dungeons that they can clear that are crystals that I think you're gonna see dense crystal dungeon clearing and items that are next to those dungeons. And I think that's generally the correct play. So it's interesting. I mean, the mountain is obviously a good non-dungeon to be doing. Even if you can only do the light world, I can see why Tabby came here.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I expect just a lot of dungeon rushing for the next, the foreseeable future here.
Yeah, something makes sense. Yeah, and as you mentioned, we have Crystal Hera that we can actually get to. We have. All 7 items here in Paradox. We can check out Spiral Cave, if you're so interested.
All but 2 of the crystal dungeons are currently clearable. We can clear Eastern, Hera, Pod, Thieves Town, and Ice Palace. So
wow,
that's
a lot.
There's a lot on runner's plates. Which I guess the flip side of that is we need an Ice Rod, a Cane of Samaria, a medallion, and a book, or
something that some sort of desert access.
So we're down to 4 to 5 items for go mode. So that's pretty small number.
It is, yeah. Okay, well, there's one medallion that we can maybe potentially check off that list. It could certainly be a medallion. It can also maybe help us get into Ice Palace. We do have the Fire Rod, of course. But you never really hurts to have an extra Bombos medallion in your pocket. Maybe you are still on Master Sword, for example, when you face Gold Stare. Okay, so it looks like the gem is his first dungeon of choice, which will be, I guess, looks like Pyramid into Pod. Very common, I think he's done. Yeah, and I think he's been on record saying that, especially if we don't have the flute, you can't start from flute spot 5 to go into Pod. Like, he'll start from Hype Key, go into Pyramid, into Pod, just because this is a terrible check to kind of route into. And so, like, if you don't check it now, you basically, like, I guess, yes, you can route in with Catfish, but, for any people who have watched Gem for any amount of time knows, he and Catfish do not have the best of relations, and so yeah, that check is most likely not happening unless probably under some more dire circumstances.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Gem has always been a proponent of Hype Cave first with hammer access, so the fact that he has already cleared out Eastern, just doing Hype Cave, doing the check to see if Pod was a crystal, it makes sense that he would just come over here and do this. I suspect that if Pod was a pendant, he would have just done Stumpy into Dig Game and then gone to the mountain. But now he's just going to do Pod and then probably go to the mountain, if I had to guess. And we do see a nice quick fight on Moldorm.
Very well done on Tabby's side. Moldorm, whether Moldorm behaved on its own or Tabby was able to tame it, I mean, Moldorm is never an easy battle. It doesn't matter what equipment you have. He is always extremely volatile. So very nice job on Tabby's part.
And telling us that there is an item in the big chest.
Yeah, thanks, Windfox. I'm glad that you are the one tracking and watching.
Ooh, okay.
Tabby, very interesting. Do you think this is influenced by No Mirror?
I think it's influenced by, if Tabby is nervous and like is looking for an edge in a spot, like if Tabby's coming into this race thinking she needs to find a spot where she can get an edge, like this is absolutely a spot where that could swing the race.
Yes.
And so, if that's what she's thinking, or if she just wants to be thorough, like there are a lot of good reasons why you might want to do this. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of, we are getting our namesake team. We did try to hover at least one attempt every day. This is a pretty difficult hover, but I am glad to see that Gem is at least attempting this. One more try. It's okay. 3rd time's the charm. Okay, did that count? Okay, that did count. We are also a little low on health on Gem side, so I think it's probably better that we maybe just take the intended route in order to get over there. Okay, so I think we did, yeah, so right, when Fox did say, confirming that there is an item in the big chest, so we definitely knew that the big key is in the basement, and so, right, this is, with No Mirror, looks like Tabby is actually just going to try and walk upstairs versus Deathwarp. Oh, she has a fairy, I think, right? So she doesn't want to use it? That's maybe one of the reasons why she walked up. Very nice Herapod, and thank you, Blue Mail, because that exactly was the amount of health we could afford to use for this.
This could be very important. Just a piece of heart.
Just a piece of heart. You know, and I will say though, oh, maybe she's just saving the death warp, you know, for upstairs Hera, which also I think is very reasonable. You know, I mean, and again, like even in like I would say like watching Gem pick up his ice rod on the Bolok side, okay, always a really great pickup, because you know it only locks exactly one item logically, or one whatever boss logically. Yes. Yeah, it's you always want to see it sooner rather than later because you don't want to be hunting it for it, you know, as your very last item that you need for go mode.
Yeah, and the other non-small key up front was the big key, so Gem's just getting this out of the way now, which makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, because right, it's I think he said before that basically if you don't have the mirror, like once you beat Helma, you can basically get a free warp back to the beginning of the dungeon, which is kind of what you want anyway when you're trying to do the back, because you would try to mirror out, right? And this will be like a free.
He just plans to save and quit out of here anyway. So.
All right, but that was crystal number 1 down for Tabby. It looks like she is going to go back to Eastern versus some maybe the other Dark World dungeons.
Because she'll get her mitts.
Yeah, it'll be really good. I was actually maybe a little bit worried, you know, as to when she would try to come back to Eastern. And granted, you did mention this is a clearable crystal dungeon, but you also did mention that there were other Dark World dungeons that were also clearable. And you know, while it's not going to be the end of the world for her to go to like Village of Outcasts, right, and go to Thieves Town that way, without the mitts, you know, certainly would be a lot faster if she has them.
And this is great. She'll get the mitts here, and then I'm assuming we'll see a pod afterwards where she'll get the ice rod and be at like item parity, at least as far as we know it. I guess outside of that Bombos medallion, but Hype Cave is probably on the list as well. So.
Okay, so so we did in this case find the ice rod, which is, you know, I would say certainly big relief probably on Gem and Tabby side when she eventually goes and gets it. So that being said, there are more ice rods or similar items, you know, still left in this scene. I guess my question was, so Tabby's already been to the mountain, to at least like the Light World mountain portion, right? So she can get her mist, so she can do Dark World. Gem hasn't been up there to the mountain at all. Like, would you be at all tempted to like take a peek and to scout out the Turtle Rock medallion, or we just basically just see, like, I'm just gonna clear as much as I can and like that's not on the mountain, and then just go?
No, Gem, I fully expect will go to the mountain after pod. I mean, he doesn't have to. He could just go do Thieves Town and you know, get and then Ice Palace. Like, he could do those things, but I mean, even if you suspect that, hey, maybe I could get like a cane or something, like then your Ice Palace, you save the time from the climb just on Ice Palace, you know, like something like that. So there's 3 items in Ice Palace. There's for Gem something like darn close to 20 items on the mountain. So
that's a lot of items. That's like GT basement level. Oh. Well, you know, if we didn't, you know, couldn't East Death Mountain Fairy Revival hover over, we can now with the bug net. I feel like maybe Gem should just put that hook shot over. We also had heard, by the way, from Winfax that, you know, Tabby, along with all the other Farm Friends teammates, are very experienced hovers, and I don't know if also maybe Tabby wants to, you know, try it out for a little bit. It would be a lot of, like I said, a lot of fun. Maybe she's not as interested though in this particular situation. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Eastern Big Key is vanilla. That's right. No gambling here. You know, we don't have to necessarily see if we can save a minute versus like a 50-50 item versus, well, maybe I'm, you know, good with having, you know, leaving one item here behind Eastern Palace to save 1 minute.
So nothing in the bad. Let's see where Gem goes. Tabby heading here to Armos.
There must have also been a lot of money on the mountain, because I know that Tabby already did Zora. We're already like suddenly back to basically Zora, you know, pre-Zora level, you know, funding.
Seeing a King's Tomb makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think, and again, like something that I'm sure that, you know, this is something that, especially without the flute, you know, with the miss, this is a very, you know, easy, fast check, probably both for Gem and Tabby, kind of coupled with the fact that we don't have a mirror right now. So, you know, it's not like we, you know, maybe ought to wait, you know, to try and route in Graveyard Ledge, which is, you know, again, a pretty bad check in itself, but, you know, we don't have a mirror, so no reason to worry about it right now.
I mean, okay, so Gem is going to go for, looks like Thieves Town and Village of Outcasts. That's a perfectly reasonable choice. Thieves Town as a dungeon is one where the items are all along the way, right? So, as opposed to like Ice Palace, where especially without the cane, the items are almost all like ridiculously out of the way.
Yeah.
So just doing a quick Village of I don't expect to see much more than maybe he'll go down and do Dig Game and Stumpy potentially, but outside of that, I don't see much. I don't think we're going to see much outside of Village of Outcasts here. I don't expect him to go up into Skullwoods when he has the entire mountain available. That would be very uncharacteristic.
Despite the fact that, so I know that, ever since, Twitch kind of expanded their animated emote slots, the regular emote slots, for affiliates, the number of Link to the Past randomizer or Link to the Past, general ones have just like exploded. And certainly, definitely lets you express some of your opinions, about certain, let's say, dungeons, certain tech. And Gem certainly has one for Skullwoods, despite the fact that, even though he does have everything he needs to clear it, which is the Fire Rod, it is a pendant, we do not have to go in. All right, we're more or less looking for an excuse to try and, drag ourselves into that dungeon versus maybe, finding a reason to, know out of it.
Instead of the early pod, you might be seeing that Ice Palace play.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. We've got Master Sword. We've got Fire Rod, Half Magic. That's probably the more notable set of equipment that we care about.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like executing it, it shouldn't be much of an issue. It's just the not having a cane is always a little bit sad. That's all.
Yeah, and so far, as in like Tabby has, just like Gem has, as you said, we have a lot of crystal dungeons to go choose from, and so far we are, in basically crystal dungeon completing mode, and this is certainly a part of the foreseeable future.
I mean, as a metagaming pick, I really like this choice because, like, I was, speculating on Gem's potential routes before, and I definitely think Gem does just about everything available as far as crystals and overworld goes. Not everything, but like the vast majority before he goes to Ice. I suspect that will be the case, unless he happens to find the cane here in Thieves Town or something. So as like a counter pick, like this could be very good.
Yeah, and of course, how often or not have we seen, the Cane of Samaria basically here in Ice Palace, right?
For sure.
Yeah, but it's also, by the way, a very good, I guess, PSA, right? Ice Palace is certainly not logically locked by Samaria, as we're kind of seeing Tabby, she will full clear this, but, there is some, I won't even say older tech, but there's some more classic tech that, ever since Icebreaker was allowed for Rando, I think some people have maybe kind of let their Ice Palace bomb jump practice, maybe, go a little rusty. So it's certainly, especially these types of situations, might be, kind of nice to kind of brush off, dust off the dust here. All right, very nicely done on Tabby's side. Okay. Meanwhile, though, Gem is finishing up Thieves Town. Yeah, again, we have Hammer. It doesn't actually matter. We can't get everything. That is a second medallion. Whether or not we need it, we don't know, actually, what we need to get into Turtle Rock, but you always want to have more medallions. Would be kind of the dream, I would think, that if you can basically just put out the mountain entirely, basically find ether somewhere downstairs, down not on the mountain, I don't know, find a book or something, for desert, and or even a flute for that matter. Well, I guess you need flute and mirror, but like, you found your desert access, and then you find Samaria, you find the ether medallion, then you are just like, you're basically just go-moding the entire mountain, which is very uncommonly seen here at Rando.
Yeah, absolutely. For multiple reasons too. It's not just the fact that it's likely an item would be placed there. It's the fact that because there's so likely an item would get placed there, it usually makes a good amount of sense to route it in before you do dungeons that just take a long time to clear, like Swamp or Ice.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so yeah, so we're kind of also seeing, again, some more content out of Ice Palace. Some of the routing that again you are unfortunately not able to. Well, you can in this case avoid without the Kingdom Maria. So we just see Vanilla Binky Chess having a heart piece. Oh, you know what? Okay, there's Ether. We have all of the medallions suddenly. This seed seems very generous, actually, to some extent. Before, of course, I speak any more words, we are still missing, of course, at least 2 more items potentially for Go mode. So,
Yeah.
and they can still be pretty terrible locations. So maybe I shouldn't, curse or bless these runners quite yet.
Yeah, we still need desert access for Gem and also the Cane of Samaria. Tabby also needs to pick up that ice rod out of Palace of Darkness. And which medallion, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But the point is that we have all 3. So that ice, like these ice rods, certainly will not play any major role in whatever, basically our access. All right, but Tabby, is again throughout the whole sea, she has been pretty consistently thorough in a lot of these places. We found a heart piece in Little Bicky Chest. We found a fire shield as she's dropping it closer. I assume Colstar now has the 3rd item, unless
those are the 2 that I saw. So I think so.
Oh, all 3 found. Windfox. Okay. All right, sounds good. Okay, so looks like in this case. See, I believe also again, after some emotes have been enabling players to express their sentiments, about locations, about items, about it's really been quite nice for the whole Link to the Past community. I very much am digging this game. We found our desert access, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
along with like 20-some digs, which is really nice.
We're in K and Go mode now on Gem's side. I bet he will go and do desert before the mountain now. In his mind, I'm sure like Flute's just not going to happen, so there's no real reason to put it off. And you also get the Agina check out of it. So it's 4 items: the ledge, the 2 in the dungeon, plus Agina.
Oh right, yeah.
Plus you get the crystal. Yeah, that's
and especially. Yeah, especially for Gem, right? Like if we are in King Go mode, Turtle Rock is completely walled off, right? As in like if he wants to try and maybe again like put off the mountain until maybe like the very end, he that is actually a likely like that's a potential possibility.
Now that he has desert access, I could see him flipping to that line of thought where okay, now I'll just get everything I can get off the mountain. So we might see him do Ice Palace before going up the mountain at this point. It's not necessarily guaranteed or anything, but it very well could be the case because he could just climb the mountain a single time if we get Kane in Dark Death Mountain or something like that.
Yeah, right. So Tabby, without the myths, I had already gone up to East Death Mountain earlier, so we did kind of get or a preview, I guess, of all of the things that were there. Unfortunately, it wasn't really worth too much, just in terms of actual progression. But that still, of course, very much leaves open all of Dark Death Mountain. We also have not seen Spike Cave, from anybody. Not that that really, count. Or did we?
Tabby did.
Oh, she did.
It was the red boomerang, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right, that does make sense. And Windfox, of course, already marked it on Tabby's side for tracking, so this is why everyone else is here. All right, but yeah, I mean, so both Gem and Tabby making very good progress basically throughout. As we got to Dark World access. We were already able to knock out 5 crystal dungeons or something like that. And so yeah, like both Gem and Tabby have a ton of stuff to do, and I won't necessarily say that there maybe was a little bit of analysis paralysis kind of going on, but you certainly did have each choice as to what you thought maybe like the best dungeon to do first was.
And there really isn't a wrong answer. There's just different reasons why you might make different selections. As long as you're going to dense overworld or crystal dungeons, like you can't really find too much fault because there's definitely reasons why you would pick one over the other.
Yeah.
Either like counter meta or just meta. Like there's just all sorts of
true. Yeah.
reasons.
Now I guess like maybe like one consequence of maybe that factors into this analysis is like, so we're fluteless, we are mirrorless, and maybe even some of the high density locations that you're kind of visually going to, maybe it's actually just made a little bit slower because you don't have, let's say, a convenient flute spot to get to. Maybe you don't have the mirror to make things a bit more nice. Like maybe you want to put up pod, right? Because you didn't want to keep death warping over and over, especially on blue mail and 10 hearts, right? Depending on like what the key layout is.
Sure.
It's just like stuff like this, and all this time, especially for people who maybe can
Tabby out hover us.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, it was so close.
Almost. All right.
Close.
I think she got further than Jem.
Oh yeah, I know. I do. I believe so.
All right. Did you trademark? We all should hover every day as a team name, Kilrick, out of curiosity? Because this might be in danger. I'm just saying.
We trademarked the acronym, so like we can change it. Like the acronym's what's important here.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
amazing!
Hey, chat. I think Jem is giving Clear Mouse a birthday present of vanilla Lambos. That's right, chat. Your favorite commentator's birthday is today, so wish Clear Mouse a happy birthday.
Thanks, Korik. Thanks, Jem. Certainly do appreciate that.
Oh wow, that was a pretty decent.
That was a very nice birthday present. I very much do appreciate it.
So Ice Rod for Tabby Cat. That's what Jem does, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Agina into Ice Palace here.
Are you running to Ice Palace? Is that the fastest way? Do you know, or we're just saving quitting?
No, we save and quit. I'm pretty sure. Okay. To be honest, it's probably not that much different, but it's probably like 10 seconds. So.
I mean, 10 seconds is, is 10. That's a whole nother hovering attempt, or 2, or 3,
Oh, yeah,
like,
that's true.
Yeah, but these are like kind of the things, especially in this case, like you play, again, like inverted modes where you don't, you are basically, you just don't have the flute luxury, to begin with. In Light World, the amount of the way that you do overworld travel in the Light World, it gets amplified a ton, just because, again, you bleed 5 seconds here, you bleed 10 seconds there, suddenly, you are a whole minute behind, and you've done the exact same amount of checks as your opponents.
So, we do see Jem go to the mountain, I expected him to do this earlier, but at this point, it still makes sense for all the reasons I said earlier. It's just you could justify going to ice here, eating the extra time that without Kane there, hoping you find Kane there, or like there's 2 ways that going to ice first works out, right? One is you find Kane in there and then you're in go mode. The other is you find Kane on the mountain and then you don't have to reclimb. But at the same time, doing ice without the Kane stinks. So I can understand what's going on here.
Yeah, and I guess like maybe the extra amount of time, like right. So if you can find Kane up here, right, then yes, you could use the Ice Palace. But then again, like you're already using it at the cost of 1 mountain trip. I don't know, like versus like you just basically clear out Ice Palace, like the way the Tabby did. That was a really nice arena on Tabby's side, by the way. All of the Beatles just decided to, well, leave. So in this case, if we find Kane Samori up here in Dark Death Mountain, well, okay, I guess we're gonna do Light World stuff first because we don't have a mirror, so we can't actually get back. So I'm going to assume that in this case, Jem does do Hera first, well, after Paradox.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, if we do find...
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to... Like, if we do find Kane, like, would you just do Turtle Rock, or would you leave and just go Ice Palace and come back?
It depends where he finds it. Well, we know he's not going to find it in Hera, but so, like, if you find it in the Dark World... So, what I expect to see here is a Spiral Cave skip and just go directly open up Turtle Rock. In which case we probably see Totodorock. It doesn't matter all that much, but the reason why you would do Totodorock first is because you're opening a lot of chests in there anyway, and your chance of getting a sword is, a little bit higher. Although we have half magic, so the sword doesn't really speed up Ice Palace much at all anyway. He'll probably just go to save and quit and go to Ice Palace.
Okay. Oh, you did bring up a sword though. For actually, speaking of, so if it is actually Duquesne Gilman, and that mirror is basically not in our path whatsoever, I do believe that both Gem and Tabby are very capable of doing Master Sword Silverless. On Ganon, for the rest of the game, I think that they would probably prefer to have Tempered. I certainly know that that's Gem's preference.
Oh, absolutely. It's the game's much easier with Tempered than it is with Master Sword. But I mean, you're not going to see people go completely out of the way for Tempered, but you might see a few extra chests being opened. We know where the silvers are, so they're not going to be looking for those. They both know that without any mirror, those are not going to be showing up. And at this point, they're practically inaccessible as it is. Even if they found a mirror anywhere, they just wouldn't be in that area. I mean, I guess in theory you could find mirror to give you Cane in Swamp or something, but
okay, we don't have to think about that scenario because that sounds like a terrible scenario.
Yeah. Let's not hope for that one.
Yeah, and these are, I will say that, no, so even, looking at, kind of like Gem and Tabby's route so far, I don't want to necessarily say that, maybe, okay, with the exception of Hera Basement that Tabby had done, just to be a little bit extra thorough, for the dungeon, again, because maybe also because it's, kind of a terrible place to come back to. Haven't really gone off, I would say, the quote-unquote beaten path of, of random. We haven't really done anything that's super out of the way, right? Done to a lot of dungeon rushing, done the peripheries around the dungeon, like Village of Outcasts, dig game, like stuff like that. That's probably kind of like the furthest extent though, right? So, and I think these kind of seeds are kind of nice, to some extent, right? That means you can hopefully, minus that last item that we're still looking for, he'll be, kind of like a nice, fast, comfy seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been nice so far. The issue is, the Cane it could be just about anywhere outside of, Turtle Rock. When you see this item layout with this pendant layout, you kind of start suspecting that the mirror and or the flute are both in GT. We're not even getting a spiral cave skip. Gem being a little bit thorough here.
Oh, I see.
I guess he just skipped one item in Hera, so he's like, all right,
yeah, that's what it looks
enough.
like.
That's enough skipping. Let's be thorough here.
Yeah, but I guess right. So on the one hand, it is one item in Hera Basement, a Hera Big Chest. On the other hand, it's basically like the big key in the basement, and then the item in the big chest is kind of like the worst. It's the layout, if you do Hera Pot, because you're essentially doing the dungeon twice. Yeah.
And the way Gem's doing this, he's basically committing to doing ice before DR, which is fine. And it's just kind of convenient doing it this way, given that he decided to do Spiral Cave. So, and it makes sense. Like, if you decide to check Spiral Cave, then you just do it this way, because it would be way longer to set up Turtle Rock at this point.
Yeah, that does make sense. And that is also another good PSA. Like, if you don't have the mirror, and you want to open up Turtle Rock, this is not the way to go. We found the mirror, so who cares about public service announcements or anything like that? We'll just use the mirror that we found in Super Bunny to get straight back. Are you opening Turtle Rock now?
That's not the item you want to. I mean, you're not opening it because
Okay, fair.
I mean, if you find Cane, I guess it's the option, but I don't expect to see that. I expect that we're gonna have a nasty Cane hunt, which you got all of Swamp, but you also have all the mirror locations. Never mind.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we had I would say the mirror, I mean, at this point is actually just like a nice luxury item, right? I mean, especially now you can probably do whatever normal or common GT routing that you want to do. We don't have to necessarily be forced into, let's say, like something else. But
so I was
that's
Gem would do this, and he is. He's actually going to the Dark World portal here. He'll pick up the silvers on his way into ice. That's a little route add in. If he had tempered, would he do this? Probably not, I would say. But with Master Sword and no guarantee that you're going to get a better sword, this is a good safe play. Makes a lot of sense, and unfortunately for Tabby, this combo route will not be on the table. So
this combo, because she's already done Ice Palace. Exactly. Oh, I got you. Yeah, I was like, she will have all the abilities, like all the items, but yeah, you're right though, because it sounds like after she, okay, so assuming she does dig game after Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town, so she's gonna get her Desert Palace access, and then if she goes straight up the mountain, then she'll just, I think that's gonna be all the remaining crystals, right? That she just has to finish up Turtle Rock.
Right, she'll have to get her book from dig game, right?
Right, and then go to Desert.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just a question of, does she? I mean, obviously, Dark Death Mountain is pretty dense with 6 items, so it's definitely a great option. But there are other options on the table. I mean, they're not great options, but there are some overworld routes. There is Skull Woods.
There's not Skull Woods, correct? All right, like you are a Gems team member. All right, like you should show some allegiance here.
Well, I hope for Tabby's sake that they just do dig game and Stumpy, and then they're like, okay, Desert, Dark Death Mountain. But I'm just saying there's other options, and even if they're not the options, they are available. So we can't say for sure that she'll be in go mode, relatively soon, but I do hope that that's the case.
Yeah, quite the contrast, I would say, to Game 1, between Ack and Windfox, Prime versus, Game 2. It seemed like, how many pendant dungeons have we had to touch in this particular case? I think the answer is 0, right? Can't even get into some of these dungeons. Well, I guess, okay, we can get them in now with the mirror that we found in Dark Death Mountain, but, I mean, we definitely found the cane afterwards.
Yeah, so the only one we had access to, basically, before Go Mode was Skull Woods, and, well... We don't need to go into Skull Woods.
Exactly. But yeah, pretty much, again, everything's just kind of on the, go to your crystal dungeons, do a little bit of periphery. In this case, we had, we not, well, actually, you know what? We still don't know what medallion we need for Turtle Rock, because we didn't even get to scout it. But, we know that we have everything that we need.
Where was Ether?
Ether was in CJ House.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're good. On both sides. That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad from that perspective.
Yeah, you can also see that, half magic and fire rod basically makes Cold Stare, I won't say child's play, but, it's pretty straightforward. And of course, we did see on, Tappy side as well, no tempered sword, so I think with this, maybe we'll hope that Turtle Rock has a sword. I don't know if there's a meme associated with that one, but, that's certainly Gem's hope.
Now that I'm thinking more, like, I wonder if the thought crossed Gem's mind that, hey, what if Kane is behind Mirror? Then I want to, like, if that crossed his mind into doing the mountain before Ice Palace at all. I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
Like that would be an interesting thought. Like that didn't even cross my mind until just now. But you could make that as part of your decision making between Ice Palace and the mountain. Because I mean, there were like 20 items on the mountain for him. So yeah, you could eat an extra climb. Like even if all he was eating an extra climb for was just to get the silvers, like that's almost worth it.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe like part of also was that like he can also see, like, it's okay, yeah, like if you had tempered by the time that maybe you're going to, like, would you actually still get silvers? Maybe it wouldn't be worth it.
Right. I don't think he would have if he had gotten tempered. But you could. I mean, it's an option. So we do see Tabby going for Desert. Next step in her process here.
Mhm.
Nothing's going to be here, but we're hoping that she goes for Dark Death Mountain next.
Yeah, and yeah, I know, and for better or for worse, like she, so yeah, one of the major points of divergence, in this seed was that Tabby had not done Eastern Palace early, so therefore she, once she had Darkhold access just via Hammer and Glove, from Mini Moldarm Cave and then Pearl from Waterfall Fairy, she opted to go up the mountain immediately, so she was kind of only able to do the Light World side, which is all fine. It's just that now, like, when you get your mitts, like, you're now going to incur another mountain trip, just to Dark Death Mountain, and then like now the density is significantly reduced, right? Because you only have one world's worth of mountain versus two. So, but then again, that being said, like I think that's probably still one of her best options, just in terms of like density, right? But again, it kind of maybe comes at the cost of that extra mountain trip.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you're Gem, like, are you hoping for, like, what kind of Turtlerock key layout are you hoping for? Are you hoping you can go check Laser Bridge? Assuming no sword shows up? Because I'm gonna assume that he's gonna skip it if he just has all the keys.
I mean, I don't think you cared much either way now that he has silvers. Tempered makes the climb a lot easier than Master Sword for sure, but at the same time, you can just deal with it. It's not too bad.
Says the teammate that's watching. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's not like it's Spider Sword or Swordless or something.
Okay, fair.
Tempered or Butter is certainly a lot easier to climb with than Master, but Master is like infinitely easier to climb with than Spider Sword or Swordless.
Okay,
so.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, and for the record, like, even though this is casual boots and you do start with the sword, you do start with boots, like, a lot of quality of life upgrades available to you at the very beginning. There definitely still have been seeds when you're doing the climb on that fighter's sword and still boots, and apparently you hadn't fight anything, in like the 50 whatever minutes or the hour of clearing out the rest of, like the world and your crystal dungeons. Sword go mode is not fun, by the way, just for the record. Yeah, strats also think for what it's worth, they do seem to kind of change depending on, Tempered obviously lets you kill things faster, with one swipe versus two or something like that. But of course, in this case, we do have it kind of countered a bit by Fire Rod and Half Magic. The burn animation does take a little bit longer, but, again, it's the firepower. Well, yes, it is the actual physical firepower that you care about from the Fire Rod. Alright, Tabby, though, here, interesting setup for Landmill's kill.
Worked out.
Yeah, worked out really well. I think it's actually one of the first times I've seen people do like a setup from the bottom of the screen or like center as opposed to like the top, And so, but I mean, still very well done on Tabby's side.
Yeah. And we do see Gem. We'll need to check Laser Bridge, so I expect he'll keep looking since he'll be on that screen anyway if he finds a key early, but we'll see. He doesn't have to.
If only he had a mirror shield to help him out.
I mean, it really doesn't take much marginal time for each check unless you screw it up. So I expect he'll just like check the chest, but if he like falls off or something, he'll just leave. That's my guess. But we'll see. Yeah.
Okay, looks like he is checking. What we did say at the very beginning, simply don't mess up. Gem also does have that fairy from library. So I'm just saying, he can't afford in this case to mess up a little, but it turns out there's nothing on Laser Bridge anyway, so we don't actually care.
Okay, so this is one of the options that opened up with what Tabby had done, and this makes tons of sense now in retrospect. She has not yet been to the Pyramid. Now she can do Pyramid Fairy with Pyramid, maybe with Catfish as well.
Right.
Makes a ton of sense as an option. Unfortunately, gonna delay go mode a little bit. Maybe get a sword. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. That's certainly true. These are going to be, assuming she does go all the way to Catfish, right? Like it is going to be a new check for us. Certainly, Pyramid Fairy is going to be 2 additional ones. We did see, I think, Gem check Pyramid before going into Pod, so I think that was like 20 rupees or something. But yeah, as you said though, like this also is certainly very reasonable, just because again, if you're going specifically for Dark Death Mountain, you are incurring one whole mountain trip just for how many items? Like Hookshot Cave, Super Bunny. Spike Cave. You know, like it's maybe not, you know, necessarily worth it. Maybe if you could just find Kane or you know, or something right here, not on the mountain, you know, you are so much more comfortable going up. Did Winfox guess 23, by the way, for how where he thinks that GT Vicky is?
Okay.
Is he hoping that it's outside of GT? I think there might be a conflict of interest here in his guesses.
Yeah.
But...
About 23, but we do see the 7th crystal, so that does mean we are headed to GT. Gem has finally seen the light and been doing the Blaine route more recently. I don't know what he'll be doing today, but...
What do you mean by finally seeing the light? You know, every single time it doesn't show up, you know, like it's he definitely curses it. He also should realize this is not fast ROM, by the way. So I'm pretty sure he is not.
Away, Jem.
Yeah,
put that sword away.
Exactly. But yes, I believe I don't know when he started doing this, but certainly like going to Stalfos Room first, getting your at least one guaranteed small key, and then doing Hope Room into Compass Chest is one of the variant reducing routes that you can take. I think he used to do, you know, like Hope Room first, and then there was a small key, and if there is, you continue Compass Room. Otherwise, you basically, you know, start going left. And that, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, correct, like that is better maybe in theory on paper, but it's well, if there's no small key, you know, in Hope Room, and then the big key is in Compass Chest, you have just like, you know, gave up 3 minutes or something.
Exactly. And we do see a sword here in Stalfos Room.
Sight for sore eyes for Gem.
So that's really nice to find. Now, we don't know if they'll both find that, because that could easily... If the big key's over on this side, you never know. Okay, but you're pretty much forced to go left no matter what. Because there's no small key over here.
Yeah, but I guess right. So, but yeah, so there was small key. So if the key is actually here, I don't know. Winfox maybe has like a guess for which direction Tabby likes to go in GT. But if again, if it's here though, it might be a little bit longer. If you know, for Tabby, if she goes Hope Room first. Always DMs. Okay. All right. Well then, okay. Sounds like we're gonna have the same, you know, GT routing. Yeah. All right. So after Pyramid Fairy and Catfish. You know, I didn't even pay attention to see what Catfish was. All I know that it was nothing worth our time because nothing had changed on an inventory. But she can do a little bit of cleanup here. She doesn't obviously know that the mirror is just sitting in Super Bunny, so she doesn't have to necessarily come all the way over here. But once you're in Dark World, right, that's it. You can't get out of Dark World without the mirror. So it makes a lot of sense for her to run all the way here for Ether Tablet.
In her case, she will be opening up Toro Rock because, well, she already did Spiral Cave earlier, plus... at this point, she's gonna be hoping that she can just waltz right in, and which she will be able to.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I think it was like one of the last checks in Hookshot Cave as well. All right, it is Ether, so we did need to go into to C-Shape House right after Thieves Town. That would be quite the skip, by the way. Like, you know, you're trying to save a little bit of time, you didn't want to do the rest of the village, and you do Thieves Town, you just run straight south, you know? Like...
I mean, Sea House is not the most unlikely skip. I don't know, like, it's not that, like, you mean to, it's like, I'll just get this on the way back up or something, like, in some routes, but then you get sidetracked, and it's just, like, suddenly an isolated spot. And,
yeah, certainly would not have been very good today. But luckily in this case, you know, but yeah, I think, you know, both Gem and Tabby. Oh my gosh, dude. Bari is not on our side today.
Got a bouncer, man.
All right, that's it. That's it for Tabby. Not even gonna bother to see what in the last chest is. Never mind. We're gonna check the last chest of Hookshot Cave.
Like immediately, I'm sure she was like, "Oh man, what if it's a sword?"
Exactly.
And it's not.
Exactly.
But yeah. Looking for that big key over here.
Yeah, I guess we're still looking. I mean, Winfox's 23 guesses is still on the table. I'm just saying. You know, we haven't hit it yet, so. Yeah, but I think you did mention before. So yes, Tabby, you know, is in go mode now. She actually came from Hookshot Cave. So she has to clear out Turtle Rock. Whether or not she wants to try and search for that sword, maybe higher on her priorities because I guess you did mention we actually did she even get the mirror from Super Bunny? She didn't even have that, right?
Say. So
yeah,
she did not do Super Bunny, so it might impact her GT routing slightly. Without the mirror, the right side is just garbage. I don't know. If not having the mirror makes her do early tile room, then
yeah, suddenly this race just got a whole lot closer.
Could be a nice bonus, yeah.
Everything's fine, everything's fine.
I mean, I could certainly see doing tile room before compass room, like just do like full left and then come back up like by the big chest and just do tile room first. Yeah, like that's a mirrorless valid route. Like they all kind of stink without mirror, honestly.
Without the mirror. Yeah, and it's one of those things that maybe is, I won't say underrated, but it's just something that maybe doesn't occur to a lot of people because again, like more often than not, you're doing a lot of stuff in GT pretty like you kind of like, I don't know, muscle memory your way into doing, rooms or whatever, like certain ways, but because you have the assumption that you're always going to have, items XYZ with you, right? So the mirror is definitely one of them because, how often do you come to GT without a mirror? Sometimes you gotta have a caneless seed and, and then when you get up to Wiz Robes, suddenly you're like, oh no, what do I do? With the Wiz Robes, I don't have Cadence Samaria, right? It's suddenly, you just kind of, you don't necessarily expect it until you see that room. Like, you're just like, oh, let me compensate something, so...
We do see Gem climbing. Has silvers, tempered, blue mail. Should be pretty comfy here. Half magic.
Yeah. 4 bottles. At least 2 of them are filled. Yeah, we also did see him, switching over to just regular arrows. Ooh, we see Tabby, taking advantage of, I would say, Axe probably, favorite safety item, which is the bug net, and one of her many empty bottles. We are actually going to keep the fairy just for, just in case something terrible goes wrong. What do you think that flute is, Korik? We saw the mirror. I mean, do you think it's just in GT? Well, actually, no. Well, I guess it can be GT top.
I mean, there's 5 locations in GT. It could be.
Oh, you know what? Windfox already marked the flute on our. I guess I just totally missed it.
Yeah, that's.
Do you remember where it was?
It's in their inventories actually.
Yeah, yeah. Like he marked on the tracker. I just didn't pay attention.
It must have been. Well.
Indoor room. Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Like it's. I would say it's. Oh man. So. Was it maybe for the better? Think on Tappy's side, like that she only did like Light World Death Mountain. Like, so okay, if she had the mitts, like, she did Eastern, and then she decided to make the trip up to the mountain basically after, after, like, Dark World access, like, when she did, she would have picked up the mirror and then the cane, like, would there have been a scenario where she would get sidetracked into something else?
So, that, like, I was thinking about that, and that's a really good question. My gut tells me it depends on how well they route it, and it's not to say like, oh, they would route it poorly or something, but in that unique scenario, you would need to be careful that you weren't going to places where you would have to mirror until you had done the crystals. So, like, I would choose to do ice before Thieves Town in that situation, just because, like, if you do ice and you do pod, like, you're not forcing yourself to check overworld that is mirror specific.
Okay. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And if you do that, then it wouldn't necessarily hurt you. Because I mean, you might turn. Oh no, because you get the book at Dig Game. So I think you would actually be just fine. But if you said, oh, if you just like a little bit of autopilot, you're like, let's just go do Thieves Town and do that nice dense route over there. But then you're like doing all these mirror checks, then that could end up hurting you quite a bit.
Yeah, because you can do like the whole Smith chain, for example, right? And it would be very efficient. But then you're also checking purple chests and like K45, but also all the stuff takes time, right? And then yeah, we also definitely saw that nothing was mirror locked, so.
And let me like say when you're here, like it's much easier to think of that when you're sitting here in the booth and when you're actively playing. But like just in general, that would be the correct way to route it so that you would like minimize your potential time loss from finding the mirror.
Normally we love seeing, stuff like the mirror. I'm sure it would, they would have been pretty happy with it, let's say in pod, right? Or any type, especially going up the mountain. That would have been pretty nice, actually. Not that you would have known in this case that the mirror would have just, be sitting there super funny, but, certainly like their second trip to Hera, would have been a lot nicer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that is crystal number 7 down for Tabby. Always a great sign to see people going to GT with the requisite number of crystals. And yeah, so Zeus looks like because she in this case still doesn't have the mirror from Super Bunny because again she hit go mode when she did Hookshot Cave. If she always does DM, or I mean if she she still chooses to do DM, she'll certainly could pick up the Temper Sword. It just the stuff after Stalfos Room is going to be kind of like the unknown at this point. Alright, but gem this. He is on Ganon. This is a boss that he has faced many a time before. Maybe with not necessarily, the best of track records, but he is certainly, he has an overall, like, very, very good performance against him. But sometimes it only just takes, well, we're not going to talk about all the bad things. He's almost done with this. He got the nice 1-1. Temper Sword for Tabby. But yeah, kind of like looking back on the seed. I mean, so everyone, I would say, does have a more or less like style. Not necessarily like, you always do, XYZ, but given Gem's, I would say, like level of aggression, the way that he approaches the seeds, with the decisions he makes throughout, this is a very Gem-friendly seed. Like, you can see that he routed this thing quite well. Performance is quite good. Get your GGs in chat for Gem. Taking on, evening up the series between We All Should Have Every Day to Farm Friends, and taking a victory over Tabby. Played very well. Especially Landmost. That was like the best performance, I've seen the entire season.
Very well done. Being proud, but also well done to Tabby Cat. Good performance. A little bit short.
Yo, looks like actually we are here joined by today's victor, Gem. GG's.
Hello, Gem. Thanks.
Nice bow Lamos. It was a very nice surprise.
Some definitions of nice, it was a nice bow Lamos, yeah.
Well, I mean, I was a bit actually worried after the fire rod that we saw in the well, but otherwise though, for this seed, I think you did a really nice job. Right, made a lot of good decisions. I mean, how did you feel about it? Like, were you worried at all when you found, I guess, the mirror? Like, were you kind of relieved when you found the mirror? Like, when were you gonna basically go down?
Yeah, the brief moment between Mira and Kane, I was a little worried. It's like, well, where did I go after Morton has nothing? But yeah, I was very quickly relieved of that worry when I found the Kane immediately afterwards in Hookshot Cave. Otherwise I felt pretty good this seed. Like, I think I executed pretty well for the most part. I got a sub 5 escape and possibly my last slow on casual boots ever, so that felt pretty good.
You just gotta pick up magic, just find half magic somewhere, like in your house every time, and then it's easy.
It was a little bit cheat because I got to skip the magic part, but yeah, other than that, it was a sub 5, so we'll count it. But yeah, and then like my route just went very well. I might not always do big game in this route. Like, I think pretty often I could see myself like do thieves, then save and quit and like go up the mountain and skip like Big Game and Stumpy. But yeah, for some reason today I felt like I should go to Big Game, and it paid off immensely because missing that book would be devastating considering Flute was in GT.
Good thing it was like 20-some digs too, you know? It was really great.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
Yeah, great.
Did you consider doing ice before the mountain at all?
Yeah, but I don't know, like I felt like I would wanna try finding the cane on the mountain first, because like I could see myself just decide to skip the right side and just go to Cold Stare, and then skipping the cane there would be pretty bad. But I just wanted to check the mountain, and if the cane wasn't up there I would have felt pretty good just doing right side ice, even though it's slow. That was my main motivation basically.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I guess the other reason is, like if I was more than just cane from go mode, I probably would have done ice first, just to increase my odds of finding the cane before going up the mountain for TR. But considering it was just cane go mode, then I didn't need to enter TR before, well, I didn't need to enter TR to find my last item, essentially. Which is why I was okay with just going up the mountain there and not doing ice first.
Nice hover attempts, by the way. Yeah, I think you've hovered a lot. Enough maybe for representing the rest of your team. So.
Yeah, I felt like I had to make up something, so that's why there were a bunch of attempts. But yeah, emphasis on attempts.
No, it's all good. And for the record, if we can get Tabby in here, get your G's out in chat though for Tabby. It looks like she did throw in a forfeit, so hopefully we can at least chat with her for a bit. But I will say that she also did attempt the FOD hover. She was also not successful. She did get farther than you. So I did ask Korik about the trademark on your team name. So I don't know if it's going to be in danger.
Wait, how much further did she get? I basically got right to the end and then screwed it up.
I think she almost got there. She looked like she was just only a couple pixels off. Speaking of, though, we are here joined by Tabby. GG's.
GG's, Tabby.
GG's, Jim.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, like it looks like you were you routed this, or you played very well. You had a really neat like Beatles room arena in pod, basically to knock all of them off the ledge. I had like not seen that before. That was actually really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think I saw that. I don't know who I saw that from, but I just like they're all there. I'm like, go away, please.
That's right. Yeah. Any thoughts, I guess, about maybe like your approach for this seed?
Well, my initial thought process going in was I was like, I need to, because I've gotten burned by Sphere Zero so many times. So I was like, whenever I saw that early bow and I was in lamp and everything, and I'm like, I did a mental coin flip of South Shore versus early Eastern, and then when South Shore literally led to like everything else in the seed, I'm like, I looked at it and I was like, well, there's a hookshot and a cane, and every time I see stuff like this where it all screams mountain and go up the mountain and do the mountain right now, it always means Spike Cave has my mirror. So I'm like, I'm gonna go for it. And then like everything else, like if I had gone Eastern, then I think it would have been a much closer race. But yeah, it's just rando gonna rando.
Yeah. I mean, it did kind of like, yeah, you can't control in this case like where the the items are placed, and I was like in kind of maybe it was the largest kind of like difference in terms of time. Yeah, so like you did go up, you did not do Eastern first, right? And that had your mitts. Jem basically rushed Eastern after Kakariko, so he was able to get his mitts very quickly, and then yeah, I guess he had his choice of doing, whatever Dark World dungeons that he did. I think because he went up the mountain early, like at least just on the Light World portion, like you did Hera, right, in conjunction, which is all fine. But then I think Jem also decided to skip the last item in Hera. But of course, it was also like the worst layout, right, for the dungeon, and
For sure.
yeah. So
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, all right, if I go up here without my mitts, then I'm gonna need to just do. I was thinking I'm just gonna do everything up here, even if there's a bad item in Hera, because if there's something bad in Hera, then there's a chance that might be skipped. If it's a good, if something good is there. So, I was thinking I needed to do something. I was trying to do some things that normally I might not do. Like I typically will kind of look at what I have left before I do Hera basement or before I do something like really gross or something. But it's like I was really kind of just not when the entire seed opens up, it's like, okay, follow the items. What did the items say to do? Well, it's Eastern that says that. It says, all right, well, let's just go over there after Hera. And then, when I saw the mitts, I was like, something's up there, and it's not gonna be a pretty thing. And I just groaned really hard when I found mitts.
Oh. Yeah, I also didn't know if people wanted to try and wait for like the mirror to maybe try and combo,
Yeah,
but
I was doing that
yeah.
too. I was also wanting to see if I could find the mirror first. After I skipped it initially, I was like, let me see if I can find the mirror, but I was like, I wasn't gonna just put it off forever or anything, because it's like it was way too. It was like it's sphere 1 essentially at that point with everything else that we got, and it's like just go. So after Hera, I'm like, well, just go to Eastern, and then I got the mitts, and I'm like, well, what if Kane is in ice? I got everything to clear it. If Kane's in ice, then that's huge too. So let's go. And so I kind of tried to figure out what the seed was trying to say, and the seed was trying to say, hey, you should have gone back up the mountain immediately, and I didn't do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was also another thing, right? So Jem went up the mountain, I guess, like before Ice Palace, and then he found Kane, right? So he used Samaria for ice, and then also kind of en route, because another consequence. So Mir, by the way, wasn't super funny. I don't know if you had found that out post race. That was post Kane though for you, and so with the Mir and with the Kane, Jem got silvers en route to ice as well. So it was just kind of like a lot of things that worked out.
Yeah.
That you couldn't unfortunately get.
Yeah, and I was going to check Super Bunny for a sword. That was the only idea, but I was like, I was like, I got Silverless Ganon, Master Sword Silverless Ganon, let's go.
That's exactly what you were thinking too, right, Jem? I got Master Sword
surely.
Silverless Ganon.
Really looking forward to that.
But thank you both so much for racing. It was really very entertaining, at least from my perspective. I mean, it might have been maybe a little bit stressful. I think when Fox mentioned you might have been a little nervous going to this race, but hopefully at least you still had a good time.
I was nervous, but I was glad I got to. I've raced Jim one other time in Kaz Boots last year, and last time I raced you, Jim, you beat me by like 30 something minutes. And I only had 4 crystals. So, this time I was in GT. I'm taking it. I'm taking that.
No, that's great. Yeah, okay. All right, so okay, speaking of, I was actually just going to WinFox, our tracker, of course, fellow farm friends teammate, has indicated that, yeah, so looking forward to next week. It looks like Tuesday is Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna versus McMonkey, and then it is WinFox versus Vortex. Back-to-back double header. How about that? Okay, so I guess Tabby, you're sitting out next week. You're just gonna take a break.
I think it's a good idea. They are much better at keys modes than I am. I like keys modes, but if I can sit out of a keys mode, that's probably the best for our team. So.
All right, sounds good. I mean, yeah, I will say, like, I do think that between casual boots and almost all dungeons without starting boots, like this is the mode that you probably want to pick. Although
right.
I can still work that too. So
I typically will leave keys modes to the boys because they're both very good at it. In comparison to me, I've got some kind of weird mental block when it comes to keys, and I don't get it. We're working on it, but that hasn't gone away yet. So I'm still working on figuring out how to make my key sanity work. But I'm looking forward to those two, and I'm probably gonna see if I can. Since they're both on Tuesday, I just get to watch from afar since my Tuesdays is literally booked solid. But I'm looking forward to seeing how they do and just watching those races because it'll be fun.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, I think it certainly will be. So I think it, and certainly best of luck in this case to WinFox and Vortex. I believe also I saw in the race notes for Vortex versus WinFox is that WinFox has always taken the victory over Vortex. So, you know, if past performance is any indicator, you know, of future, you know, results, right? That's exactly how Rando works.
This is exactly how it works, right?
Yes.
Every time. It never fails. No, I have full faith in my teammate, and I really like Vortex, so that's going to be a fun race in general to watch between the two. And of course, you know, Scruff is you know, my best friend, and so I'm looking forward to seeing him go too. Just as he loves keys modes, and he's always been just nails on it. So I'm like, I wanna see him, you know, do really well on it.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, certainly best of luck for next week. You know, newly promoted team to an Invitational, so it should be a lot of fun. So okay, so I guess I'll ask Korik and Jeb. I believe you two are the ones running next week as well. How do you feel about keys and non-starting boost, Jeb?
Terrible.
Okay, all right, okay. How about you, Korik? We can maybe move on to that.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, at least I know now that I don't have to kill Agus, so I got that squared away.
That's a good lesson.
You know, I mean, I still hope
Cheetah
like the
knowledge.
boosts are early, but it'll be okay. I don't know.
Surely.
Surely it will be fine. I mean, I like Key Sandy in general. It's just when it's like a non-entrance mode and you don't have boots for like an hour and a half, like those seeds can. I like at least entrance modes, like it's like, oh, I found something interesting, but like it's like the regular mode is like, let's walk into Kakariko again, huh? Okay.
All fair. So WinFox and Vortex are playing doubleheader basically Tuesday night. So I did see you schedule your match for Friday, 5 a.m. Eastern time. Korik, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
You know,
Jem, do you have your match scheduled?
Actually, I have a ping from Kaiden. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be Friday 4 p.m.
Okay. Okay. Oh, so it's also kind of a double header. Someone's just gonna take a nap, like in between the matches. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically double header if you ignore AM and PM.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. Well, so best of luck to you. You know, to you both. And hopefully you guys are both awake in your respective races. Any other thoughts between you two? Yeah, between all of you before we kind of wrap things up here.
Yeah, just thank you for the commentary, you two. Thanks for the tracking, WinFox, and thanks for the restream. And yeah, thanks for the race, Steady.
Thank you for the race, and thanks for everything on there. And look forward to maybe another re-race eventually. Maybe it'll be closer next time.
And progress is progress, so
exactly.
About a time.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you guys both so much for racing. Yeah, I think it was it was very entertaining from our perspective. So, yeah. So and yes, and thank you again, WinFox. Awesome tracker as always, basically keeping up with everything. Marking everything for us, including the flute that just kind of there in the shuffle that it was in fact in GT. And so and thank you, Korik. Thank you so much for being around for this afternoon for this race to commentate. Always a blast. And best of luck, of course, next week.
Thank you.
Yeah. So kind of wrapping up casual this week, though. There is a game on right now. It started at 2:10 p.m. Humbug versus Adalor. Yes, SpeedGaming 7, that channel does exist, apparently. That is on right now. And then I think that's the last afternoon match. And then 9:40 tonight p.m. is the last casual boost race, Shireen versus Lipio on SpeedGaming 2. So until then, have a great rest of your afternoon. And I'll see you all next week soon for almost all dungeons.